What Charlie observed is what we sometimes call microevolution. Now, I object to that term. We should call it variation, because it's not evolution at all. I wouldn't include that word evolution with it. It's a variety. Dogs produce a variety of dogs. No argument. Everybody agrees with that. Maybe even the wolf and the coyote and the dog had a common ancestor. No argument. That's a variation. It's a variety. Roses produce a variety of roses. See, this is what we call a fact. This is observable science. But what happens is, you get dogs, big dogs, and little dogs, but they're still a dog. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. Nobody's ever seen a dog come from a non-dog. And a 3-year-old can tell the difference in a dog, a wolf, a coyote, and a banana. Which one is not like the others, boys and girls? Well, duh. It's still the same kind of animal, okay? So the problem is, the Bible says they bring forth after their kind, not after their species. And Darwin got all bent out of shape about species, origin of species. See, what the evolutionists want you kids to do, they want to show you thousands of examples of microevolution, which is a fact, and then try to make you take a giant leap of faith and logic into believing that somehow that proves the dog and the wolf came from a rock 4.6 billion years ago. Well, look, macroevolution is religious. And when I say evolution is a religion, I'm referring to macroevolution. Now, here's the problem. When you say the word evolution, Dr. Bartelt is thinking of thousands of examples of microevolution, and she doesn't understand how I can't see it. But I am thinking of macroevolution, and I don't understand how she can see it. So we're really speaking different languages here. It's because of the definition of the word evolution. It has two unrelated meanings. So when I say the word evolution, I am not referring to microevolution. That is just a variation. It's still the same kind. And the varieties have limits. Farmers have been trying for years to get bigger and bigger pigs, but they'll never get a pig as big as Texas.
Time.
There are limits to these variations. That's a fantasy.
Okay. In one of Hovind's website areas, he says that creationists say that variations have taken place since the flood, and he says the Eohippus is nothing more than the hyrax running around South America today. So Hovind is apparently saying that this type of change is consistent with microevolution, and that it took place in the last 1,000 or so years. Next slide, please. However, the fossil record shows evidence of this much change in about 4 million years, and this is supposedly macroevolution, because creationists call apes and human beings different kinds. I wonder who is really the evolutionist here. I don't see a lot of difference.
I didn't get time to get my slides up. I'll get it for next time. On the horse evolution, which has been discredited many years ago by many experts in this field of horse evolution.
You're supposed to ask me a question.
A question now.
I'm supposed to ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. We'll start at the beginning of my list. Where did time, space, matter, and energy come from?
Hi. $29 black, please, first. First of all, looking at his questions, most of these have very little to do with the theory of evolution. And this is another case of Hovind redefining things and setting up straw men. I don't believe in the theory of evolution. I provisionally accept the overwhelming evidence from anatomy, molecular biology, paleontology, and geography. Anyway, I'll give you a threefer. Where did space for the universe come from? Matter and the laws. Well, what are laws? They're just descriptive generalizations. They don't have to come from anywhere. They work down to the earliest 10 to the minus 43 second of time, and that's good enough for me because science does not deal with ultimate causes. Space and time are created as the universe expands, and some physicists propose some sort of huge virtual particle, which is a little out of my realm of expertise. However, a great discussion of this is by an evangelical Christian named Dr. Hugh Ross, and I would encourage you to pick up his book at the Berean bookstore. It's a pretty neat example of creation ex nihilo, which Hovind supposedly espouses, and except for the time frame, it's consistent with Hovind's creation account. It's very improbable, but it only had to happen once. And we live in a world of improbable events. All of you are improbable events when you consider the number of sperm, 50 million per cubic centimeter, that can fertilize an egg. And yet, here you are.
Ask a question?
1 minute to respond.
1 minute to respond. Oh, okay. I have to follow the sequence here. I don't think you answered the question. Where did time, space, matter come from, except to beg the question and say, we're here, if I understood what you said. Let me show you what the argument is. The word evolution not only has two different meanings when it comes to biological evolution. There are several other types of evolution. The evolutionist believes, and I can show you from hundreds of textbooks if you'd like, we can show you all this, and I've got them with me in the computer, take me a minute to find them. The evolutionist believes 20 billion years ago, there was a Big Bang. Or some say 16, some say 18. Okay, the point is, a long time ago, there was a Big Bang. They do not tell us where the time, where the space, where the matter came from. They also don't tell us where the energy came from. The whole idea behind a black hole is that you can get so much mass in one place that even light cannot escape. But if you had all the mass in the universe in one place, how could it explode? How could anything escape? Where did this mass come from? Where did the energy come from? Where did the laws come from? Then, they say 4.6 billion years ago, the Earth cooled down and developed a hard rocky crust. And it rained on these rocks for millions of years, turned them into soup, and the soup came alive 3 billion years ago.
Time.
That's religion. That's a fairy tale. Thank you.
You say that the Earth's magnetic field is getting weaker with time and that it was 20 times as strong in Adam and Eve's time. What is your evidence for this?
Ever since Gauss first measured the Earth's magnetic strength, it has been observed that the magnetic field is getting weaker. I don't know the numbers. I have them in a book. I can look them up for you if you want the precise numbers. But it's been observed the magnetic field is getting weaker. This was a problem, so one of the things that was done was the mid-Atlantic ridge, magnometer was dragged across the ridge, and they noticed there were magnetic anomalies. Now, when it shows up in the textbook, it says there are magnetic reversals at the bottom of the ridge. This is absolutely a lie. There are no magnetic reversals at the bottom of the mid-Atlantic ridge or any place in the world. There is no place on the bottom of the ocean where a north-seeking compass will point south. There are places of stronger and weaker magnetism. So what happened was they noticed strong magnetism, weak magnetism, strong magnetism, weak magnetism, all pointed north. But they drew a line through the middle of this S-curve and said the ones below the line are south-seeking. Absolutely not true. There is no place on the mid-Atlantic ridge where a north-seeking compass will point south. I think there's a better explanation for why we have the weaker areas of magnetism at the bottom of the mid-Atlantic ridge. I think that's one of the places where the fountains of the deep broke open during the flood, and the basalt bulged up and cracked. And hot basalt loses its magnetism. Cold basalt stores its magnetism. And so the water rushing into these cracks cooled off the basalt, and you have areas of strong magnetism, weak magnetism, strong magnetism, weak magnetism, indicating the cracks in the Earth, but none of them are reversals. I defy anybody to show me one of those. So the magnetic field is declining. That's all we've observed. If the evolutionist wants to believe, and I'll give that a capital B because that's part of a religion, if they want to believe that this indicates the Earth is billions of years old because they've